I was always a low-key person, but I decided to go all out with my makeup for my high school reunion. Turns out, no one even remembered me.
Excuse me, who are you?
The voice belonged to Jennifer, who had been doing amateur modeling since high school.
Wow, you're so caked up. I can't even recognize you.
Unbelievably, Jennifer splashed her cup of water on my face. With my makeup gone, I suddenly felt vulnerable, as if a spell had been broken. Just then, I heard murmurs from my classmates.
Wait, are you?
Yes, I'm not the same person I used to be. My name is Sarah, a 20-year-old studying literature at a private university. While many college girls are into fashion, I've never been interested. I'm still that low-key person. People say you get into fashion in college, but that's never been me. Even in college, I look the same as I did in high school. I only tuck my hair behind my ears when eating. Otherwise, my face is mostly hidden, and that's fine by me. Being inconspicuous, almost like air, suits me just fine. I've loved reading since I was a kid. In elementary school, while everyone else ran to the playground, I headed to the library. I can't remember if I loved books first or if I went to the library to fill a lonely void, but I definitely love reading. Inside books, there's a world that I don't know about. Books add color to my otherwise monotonous life. Reading was my only hobby, especially since I wasn't good at sports or socializing. In high school, reading wasn't enough, so I started writing novels. I would hide behind my long hair and secretly observe people for story ideas. In my world, exciting things are always happening, things I'll never experience. Just like reading books, observing the real world was fascinating.
Sarah, tuck your hair behind your ears. No one can talk to you if they can't see your face. Well, I guess I'm the only one who would.
Jennifer, who was way out of my league, would occasionally come over to my desk to talk. She was an amateur model, known as the rich high schooler. I never understood why Jennifer picked on me. But she wasn't bullying me, just teasing. She was indeed pretty and wore high-end brands. But she never became material for my novels, so I ignored her. My hobby of writing novels, which started in high school, continues to this day, and I even post my works online. One day after college, I dashed off to a publishing house in Boston. The scenery from this unusual train ride seemed more vivid than usual. Oh man, I'm so nervous. For the past week, my heart has been racing, and it's all I can do to keep my composure. My heart is pounding, and it's reaching its peak now. Next, please.
Nice to meet you. I've been a fan of Miss Williams since middle school.
I poured my feelings into those words, probably speaking more openly than I ever had before. By the way, Miss Williams is the author Emily Williams, whom I adore. Today, her new book launch event is happening at this publishing house. You have a way with words, dear. Thank you for loving my work so much. Keep challenging yourself to broaden your horizons, Miss Williams said, signing her new book for me. As I walked away, still on cloud nine, a man near the entrance of the publishing house stopped me. Little did I know that this encounter would change my life. He gave me a special makeup set, and strangely enough, it sparked an interest in makeup, something I had never cared about. From then on, I started waking up a little earlier to do my makeup before going to college. It's strange. When I put on makeup, my face naturally lifts, and my perspective broadens. I realized that the world, which I thought was always the same, actually changes from moment to moment. Makeup isn't just about looking good. It's more than that. One day, as I was feeling this newfound joy and curiosity, I found an invitation to my high school reunion in the mail. Ah, a reunion, huh? The old me would have sighed and debated whether to go. But now, I feel a slight urge to attend. Encouraged by Miss Williams' words to keep challenging yourself, I decided to go to the reunion. On the day, I opened the makeup set and saw various eyeshadows, lipsticks, and blushes I had never used. Should I go a bit more glamorous for the reunion? I chose some bold colors I usually wouldn't use. Before I knew it, I had applied heavy makeup like a stage actress. Well, no one will remember my face anyway, I thought, and headed to the reunion in a new dress I bought for the occasion.
Technically, you need my agency's permission to take a photo with me, but I'll let it slide today.
When I arrived, Jennifer was already the center of attention, tipsy and more flamboyant than ever. She had transitioned from amateur modeling to professional appearing in magazines, which I had seen a year ago. Impressive indeed. While I didn't necessarily want to be like Jennifer, I admired her for her boldly expressing herself. As for me, people who passed by barely nodded, clearly not remembering me. I guess that's to be expected. Why would they remember someone they never spoke to? Even though it was a predictable reaction, I felt a bit sad.
Excuse me, who are you?
Just then, Jennifer, who had noticed me standing at the entrance, came over with a cup of water. She looked closely at my face, chuckled, and then the next moment, something cold splashed on my face. "Hey, what are you doing?" In a flash, I didn't know what had happened, but Jennifer splashed water from her cup onto my face. The room fell silent.
I can't even recognize you with all that overdone makeup.
Jennifer's voice echoed through the room. Unfazed by the reactions around her, she showed me the empty cup and laughed. What just happened? So cold. What does my face look like now? I wiped my face with a handkerchief, only to find it smeared with makeup. So my makeup is ruined. Suddenly I felt vulnerable, as if a spell had been broken. Then voices from my classmates. "Hey, haven't we seen her on TV?" "Wait, are you related to Tommy Haywood?" Before I knew it, a crowd had gathered around me. Jennifer was even more surprised and lost for words. You see, I had recently made my TV debut. On my way back from Miss Williams' new book launch, a man approached me. It was Tommy Haywood, a world-renowned makeup artist. He had been in another room at the publisher's doing an interview. In today's world, beauty interests both men and women, and Tommy Haywood's show boasts top ratings in the beauty genre. Even I, who knew little about beauty and makeup, had heard of him. When Tommy Haywood approached me near the entrance after the event, I was shocked. "I'm borrowing her." With that, he grabbed my arm and led me to an empty conference room, not minding my surprise. Don't worry. I'll give you a makeover." Tommy Haywood sat me down, removed his glasses, and did my makeup in just a few minutes. Finally, he fixed my hair. "Take a look." I was amazed when I looked into the hand mirror he handed me. Wow, I look beautiful. Even the people from the publishing house were surprised by my transformation. "How about becoming my exclusive model?" "What? Exclusive model?" I instinctively shook my head at the unfamiliar proposition. "Why not? Meeting you here today is fate. I'm so proud of how beautiful you've become with my makeup.
Let's inspire women around the world together.
I was indeed grateful for the incredible makeover, and happy to have met someone so famous. But I don't want to stand out. I've lived my life avoiding attention, and I'm comfortable that way. Hearing my words, Tommy Haywood slowly shook his head.
You should believe in your potential, and have the courage to step into the wider world. Think about it.
With that, Tommy Haywood gifted me his contact information and a custom makeup set. That's the makeup set I'm using now. For days after, Tommy Haywood's words stuck in my mind. Not just him. Ms. Williams had said something similar. Broaden your horizons. Take on new challenges. Let's give it a try. I made up my mind and called Tommy Haywood. From then on, I left everything to him. One thing led to another, and I became a regular model on Tommy Haywood's show. On the show, I revealed my bare face and underwent an incredible transformation thanks to his magic touch. It seems someone here had seen that episode.
Oh, it's Sarah.
Sarah, you're Tommy Haywood's exclusive model. That's amazing.
Tell us the story.
My classmates started talking to me one after another.
I have a better modeling career than you.
Just then, Jennifer's voice, full of resentment, echoed through the room. She was glaring at us from outside the circle of people. My classmates, who had seen Jennifer splash water on me, looked at her with disdain.
You should thank me. I'm the one who removed your overdone makeup so people could recognize you.
She showed no signs of remorse. That's when Robert, the class heartthrob, stepped in front of Jennifer, showing her his phone.
Jennifer, you're so boring. Most of your Instagram photos are stock images, aren't they?
What are you talking about, Robert? That's not true.
Well, the American store you posted about recently has been under renovation for months. And someone saw you in Boston just a few hours before you claimed to be in Paris.
Robert continued to press a flustered Jennifer.
You're not actually getting any modeling gigs, are you?
That's mean.
Jennifer, visibly shaken, couldn't bear the cold stares from our classmates and stormed out of the room.
Lies catch up to you, don't they?
One classmate muttered. I later heard that many classmates had been following Jennifer's Instagram and were growing tired of her fake posts.
Sarah, you dropped this earlier.
Robert handed me Ms. Williams' book, which had fallen out of my bag when Jennifer splashed water on me. Thank you. After that, I talked more with classmates than I had in all 3 years of high school. Talking to people around me wasn't as hard as I thought. Everyone has their own thoughts, their own way of living, and their own uncertainties. I knew this, of course, but hearing it directly from people felt different than reading it in a book. I'm glad I attended the reunion. I'm truly glad I mustered the courage back then. As for Jennifer, I heard she got fired from her modeling agency. Someone had posted a video of her splashing water on me at the reunion, and it went viral, causing a backlash. Social media can be scary. While I question the person who posted the video, I hope Jennifer learns to live without lying to herself. 3 years have passed since then.
Is this Sarah? Could you come over now?
The call led me back to the publishing house where I had first met Tommy Haywood and talked to Ms. Williams 3 years ago. That day, in this place, my life changed dramatically. As I was lost in thought, a voice came from behind me.
Are you Miss Sarah, the writer?
Writer? Me?
Yes, your novel is going to be published. You're making your debut as a novelist.
Really? I was so surprised that I kept asking for confirmation. Ever since gaining confidence, I had been sending my own novels to the publishing house. One of them caught the attention of the higher-ups, and now it's going to be a book.
From now on, you'll be a beauty expert and a writer. You'll be busy. We'll schedule a meeting for next week. Looking forward to working with you, Miss Sarah."
Likewise, thank you. Being called a writer still tickles me a bit. Will I ever get used to it? No, never forget where you started. As I stepped outside, the warm glow of the sunset enveloped me. The building housing the publishing company was also bathed in the colors of the setting sun. This place is indeed special to me. I'm glad I took that courageous step back then. Otherwise, I might still be hiding behind my hair, living in a limited world. I wouldn't have been able to see this beautiful view or be a part of the exciting things happening around me. Of course, books are still my dear friends. But now, I want to write books that give hope to those who lack courage, just like I did. Facing the setting sun, I made that resolution. Good morning.
Good morning. I hope we find a great venue today.
Yeah. Today, I'm going venue hunting for our wedding with the man who recently proposed to me. That man is Robert, whom I reconnected with at the reunion 3 years ago. Robert, who picked up the book I had dropped. We've been in touch since then and found out we both love reading, especially Ms. Williams' books. Robert, the class heartthrob, turned out to be someone I could relate to. Being with him makes my heart race, the world around me shines, and I feel at ease. New emotions are stirring within me.
Found another idea for a novel, haven't you?
Robert peered into my face. You noticed?
Come on, let's go. No work talk today. Our wedding is our own special story. Don't turn it into a novel.
Oh, come on, let's share our happiness. Our voices echoed in the air. Hand in hand, Robert and I stepped into the pristine wedding venue.
Grandma, give me money.
A sudden phone call from my 4-year-old granddaughter.
My little sister isn't moving, so I want to take her to the hospital.
I couldn't believe my ears. With my granddaughter's tearful voice causing an odd sense of foreboding, I hurriedly made my way to her house. Upon arrival, I found a scene of chaos, garbage, food remnants, and a foul odor permeated the room. And there, lying face down and unresponsive, was my 2-year-old granddaughter. The horrifying sight left me trembling uncontrollably. I am Nancy Smith, 58 years old. After losing my husband early, I've been living alone in New York. My only son, Michael, is already independent and has 2 daughters with his wife, Samantha, a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. For me, the greatest joy comes from my grandchildren. Their house is about a 30-minute drive from mine, but since I don't have a driver's license, taking the train takes more than twice that time. Despite this, I eagerly await their visits, as they always come to see me from their side. However, there's one thing that bothers me. It's always my son who brings the grandchildren over. It seems that Samantha isn't particularly fond of me. From the beginning of their marriage, she's found various excuses to avoid meeting me, and this has been a source of concern for me. Furthermore, despite being a stay-at-home mom, their house is often messy when I visit. Strangely enough, she always keeps herself well-groomed. Once, I gently suggested that she should clean up for the sake of my grandchildren, but her response was sharp.
Just because you're my husband's mother doesn't mean you can meddle in my home.
As a result, she seemed upset. Reluctantly, I discussed this with my son, and he said,
Samantha is cheerful, and being around her lifts my spirits. I don't mind the mess.
It appears that Michael takes care of the cleaning himself after work. Well, I suppose there's nothing more I can do. If my son is okay with it, I'll refrain from interfering further in their marital affairs. Amidst this, my son's job transfer to a different region meant he would be away from home for a while. Although the exact duration wasn't clear, I heard it might be around 4 years. Yes, it's going to be lonely, I thought. Initially, Michael had planned for the entire family to move together, and I had assumed the same. However, Samantha was vehemently against it.
Raising young children in an unfamiliar place makes me anxious. We'll stay here.
Eventually, my son respected her feelings and decided to take the job transfer alone. Samantha looked directly into my eyes and said,
From now on, I'll bring my children to visit your house.
Despite my disappointment about Michael's absence, I couldn't hide my inner joy at the thought of continuing to see my granddaughters as before. However, my modest happiness was short-lived. Despite Samantha's earlier words, she not only failed to visit after my son's departure but also stopped communicating altogether. Gathering my courage, I called her cell phone. "Are you busy lately? I'd like to see my grandkids. If it's difficult for you to come, I can go there." Her response left me stunned.
It's hard to say, but they don't want to see you.
I felt as if a hammer had struck my head unexpectedly. What? Have I done something to upset them? I asked. Samantha replied,
They won't tell me the reason. Anyway, we won't be coming over for a while, so please don't visit either.
Even after the call ended, I remained in a daze. What did all those happy moments with my grandchildren mean? I kept questioning myself, wondering if I had made some terrible mistake that caused them to dislike me. Vivid memories flooded my mind. My older granddaughter, Sophia, always played the responsible older sister, looking after her younger sister, Emma. She'd gently hold Emma's hand and guide her. Emma, on the other hand, was more reserved, often trailing behind her older sister. In their presence, I often found myself smiling, cherishing these precious moments. I recalled a time when Sophia imitated grown-ups and wanted a planner. I bought one for her, and she eagerly asked me to write something in it. I simply penned down my name and phone number. Sophia beamed, clutching the planner, and said,
"Now I can call you anytime."
But now, they don't want to see me anymore. Why? It was baffling. Unable to bear it any longer, I considered discussing this with my son. I picked up my smartphone, but then I hesitated. I didn't want to burden him further, especially since he was dealing with the challenges of his job transfer. Well, if I endure this, as long as my granddaughters are happy and thriving. So, I swallowed my tears and resolved to stay strong. As time swiftly passed, half a year went by without seeing my grandchildren. Then, one day, at 11 p.m., my mobile phone rang unexpectedly. The caller ID displayed my son's home landline number. Nervously, I answered the call.
"Grandma, can I have $4?
I immediately recognized the voice. It was my 4-year-old granddaughter, Sophia. But she had never called me before, especially not this late at night, and certainly not asking for money. What could be going on? "Are you Sophia? What happened? Can you tell me?"
"Emma isn't moving, and I want to take her to the hospital."
What? I was utterly bewildered. Sophia, still struggling with her words, sounded frantic.
"What should I do? Emma might die."
She continued. "Where's Mom?"
"Mom disappeared somewhere. Please help."
I reassured Sophia, promising to do something, and hung up. When I called Samantha's cell phone, it was off. Anxiety gnawed at me, what was happening? I couldn't just stand by. Trembling with fear, I hailed a taxi and rushed to my grandchildren's house.
Grandma,
My 4-year-old granddaughter burst into tears upon seeing my face and clung to my legs. Her frail body looked emaciated, and her clothes were tattered. The room was strewn with remnants of clothing and something that had been eaten, and an unpleasant odor hung in the air. But most alarming was the absence of their mother. Something was seriously wrong.
What happened? And where's Emma?
I asked, holding Sophia tightly. She pointed toward the back of the room, her eyes streaming with tears. I followed her, trembling, into the adjacent room. There lay my 2-year-old granddaughter, face down, completely unresponsive.
Emma?
The shock hit me like an icy hand gripping my heart, and my knees nearly gave way as I crawled closer to the small child. With trembling hands, I called an ambulance.
Emma, please, open your eyes.
I clutched her cold little hand tightly as they rushed her away in the ambulance. Eventually, we arrived at the hospital. The doctor murmured uncertainty.
We'll do our best.
I could only bow my head deeply, feeling powerless.
is Emma going to be okay?
Absolutely. Grandma says so. It's a certainty. As we waited in the hospital corridor, Sophia, her tear-streaked eyes rubbing, managed a faint smile. Then she began to share, haltingly, what had happened in that house. As she poured out the whole story, I trembled with fear, looking at my tearful granddaughter. Oh, poor child. How could such a thing happen? At that moment, the door to the treatment room swung open. The doctor's solemn expression delivered news that filled my heart with anger and sorrow. And right then, I vowed revenge against the mastermind behind this chain of events. After deciding to take care of my 4-year-old granddaughter at home, I busied myself with preparations to bring retribution upon those who had caused my grandchildren suffering. Meanwhile, Samantha remained unreachable by phone. Since I didn't want to cause a stir due to the absence of her children, I couldn't even inform her in advance. Reluctantly, I sent a message. By chance, I met the grandchildren playing in the yard and brought them over because one of them had a fever. Her reply came at 1 a.m.
Since you took them without permission, please keep them until they are completely recovered.
As I stared at that message, I let out a small sigh. A week later, I arrived unannounced at my son's house, accompanied only by 4-year-old Sophia. Samantha was taken aback.
What's going on? It's inconvenient for you to show up without notice. Did you bring my kids with you? Wait, where's Emma?
I looked her in the eye and said, I need to talk to you about something. Can we go inside? She retorted,
If you're going to do this, come back when both of them are fully recovered.
She had no intention of listening to my words and was about to slam the door shut, but I forcefully pushed it open. I left my granddaughter waiting in the garden and barged into the house. However, something felt different this time. The room was oddly tidy, except for the disheveled bed in the open bedroom. Samantha glared at me and snapped.
Stop staring! Get out of here! What do you want to talk about? You have no right to complain.
I retorted.
You who don't take care of their children shouldn't be saying such things.
Wait, what evidence do you have? It's not acceptable to say random things, even if we're relatives.
Samantha glared at me and clicked her tongue.
I learned it all from little Sophia. Apparently, you sometimes don't prepare food and stay away from home for days.
Samantha's face twitched momentarily as she continued to glare at me. On that fateful day when little Emma was carried into the hospital, the story I heard from Sophia was truly horrifying. Since my son had moved to the countryside, Samantha had neglected her parenting duties, leaving 4-year-old Sophia to care for 2-year-old Emma. Occasionally, an unfamiliar man would visit the house, and they were often chased away. The 2 young sisters were enduring the worst kind of life.
I've heard that you threatened your children that if they ever told Michael or anyone close about this, you'd withhold their meals. Can you honestly claim you did nothing?
Amidst this dire situation, the 2-year-old granddaughter grew weaker day by day until she could no longer move. Ignoring Emma completely, Samantha dressed flamboyantly and went out somewhere that day. Sophia thought,
Surely Grandma will do something.
She relied on the phone number I had once written in her personal notebook.
Despite being told that they didn't want to see me, I also know that was a lie.
They are still 4 and 2 years old. What children say can't be relied on.
Samantha looked up at the ceiling and let out a hearty laugh.
Emma is currently hospitalized. Her attending physician pointed out that her extreme weight loss is concerning.
Huh?
The hospital's perspective was that they hadn't been adequately fed by their parents for a long time. So, with a solemn expression, the doctor came over to me in the waiting room.
Samantha, you are cheating, aren't you? Look at this.
I confronted Samantha, thrusting several photos at her. In those pictures, she was getting cozy with a blonde muscular man who seemed to work for a dating club for women.
Who took these photos?
As she trembled, she picked up each piece of evidence. And then, my son Michael stepped forward.
It's me.
Indeed, the person who appeared in front of us was none other than my son, Michael. On the day I returned from the hospital, I immediately contacted my son, who was working away from home. Furious, he managed to take time off work and promptly returned home to confront the situation. In secret, we had been investigating whether Samantha was up to any mischief. My son, Michael, revealed,
I've been tailing you all this time. It was easy to take photos because you were openly hugging your lover in broad daylight.
Samantha stammered.
Wait, this can't be true. I had no idea you were back in New York.
I retorted.
You really underestimated us. Michael was confined to the countryside, and I don't have a driver's license. So did you think our mobility was limited?
But then my son delivered the final blow.
Unfortunately for you, we're fully aware of everything you've been up to.
At that moment, Samantha's bravado vanished, replaced by fear as she faced my usually gentle son's fierce determination. However, that's just the beginning. I still have plenty more to say.
The reason you didn't accompany Michael on his rural assignment was simply because you didn't want to be away from your lover.
I accused her. She stammered.
Well, you see.
And this time, the unusually tidy room? Clearly, you had the man over. Look at this. It tells the whole story.
The comforter had fallen to the floor, and the sheets were terribly disheveled. When I pointed to the trash can by the bedside, she averted her gaze. My son, Michael, chimed in.
That man has already confessed, so you might as well give up.
What? What do you mean?
She seemed taken aback. Apparently, just minutes before our unexpected arrival, she had been enjoying herself with her lover in her home. The man, caught off guard by our sudden appearance, had leaped out of the window stark naked, only to be apprehended by my son. And there he was, willingly exposing their affair.
I heard it from that guy. I married my husband just for his money. That's your favorite phrase, isn't it?
No, it's not like that. I love only you. I was lonely without you, Michael.
That kind of talk is unbelievable. We're getting a divorce. And I'll be seeking alimony, so brace yourself.
Please, not that. I have debts. I don't have a job, and if you abandon me, I'll have no way to repay them.
Samantha, who had apparently accumulated a substantial amount of debt to cater to her lover, was completely distraught. She clung to my son, regardless of appearances, desperately pleading.
Please, I promise to change. Even for the sake of my children, a mother is necessary.
Such a despicable person, attempting to use her children as leverage to prevent divorce. However, children are far from naive.
We don't need Mom because Grandma is here.
Sophia's voice echoed through the hallway as she secretly listened to the adults' conversation.
Wait, what are you saying? I love you and Emma dearly. Come over here.
But Sophia retorted.
No way. Emma and I both hate Mom.
As if to emphasize the point, my granddaughter turned her back on her mother, who had a forced smile and opened her arms wide, and ran back to the garden.
Since Sophia feels the same way, it's settled. Expect a call from the lawyer soon.
Samantha clenched her lower lip and turned toward me.
This is all the old hag's fault. You need to take responsibility.
Oh, your defiance is almost refreshing. But enjoy it while it lasts. You see, your neglect of the children has already been reported to the police by the hospital.
And what does that matter? Surely something like this can't be a crime?
Didn't you know? Neglecting childcare is a serious offense. Depending on the severity, it could result in a prison sentence of 3 months to 5 years.
What? Absolutely not. I won't go to jail.
She turned pale, clutching her head, and began to panic on her own.
Yeah, that guy? He seems to think of you as nothing more than a human ATM. Apparently, he's got a real girlfriend waiting for him.
That's a lie. Why did I devote myself to him?
He's planning to move abroad with the other woman. He might be in the skies soon.
As my son looked pointedly upward, Samantha's eyes welled up, and she sniffled.
And by the way, when I told your parents, they said we're cutting off our daughter. We don't want to see her face ever again, so tell her that.
Even though they're my own parents, how cruel.
Well, you're one to talk. Your actions have been far worse towards Sophia and Emma.
My raised voice made Samantha flinch, and eventually, she broke down in tears, her eyes reddening.
I'm so sorry. Please help me. I have no one else to turn to.
You neglected your young daughters, yet you expect forgiveness for yourself? That's audacity.
Samantha stuttered. Having no words to say, she finally collapsed in front of us. However, my son, who had been working hard away from home for the sake of the family, and the resilient 4-year-old Sophia, who endured her mother's mistreatment, weighed heavily on my mind. And even now, with my 2-year-old grandchild teetering on the edge of life, I couldn't bear it.
Never show your face in front of us again. And remember this, neither I nor my grandchildren will ever forgive you.
We, my son and I, escorted the sobbing Samantha out of the house. Subsequently, Michael and Samantha's divorce was finalized, and custody of my grandchildren went to my son. Michael demanded $20,000 in alimony from Samantha, along with a monthly child support of $400 for their 2 children. Samantha is currently undergoing police questioning due to neglecting childcare, and she appears worn out and pale. Even if the legal proceedings conclude, Samantha faces a challenging future with substantial debts and financial obligations. Additionally, my son sought $15,000 in alimony from Samantha's lover, who promptly paid up to avoid further trouble. Miraculously, Emma has recovered and was recently discharged from the hospital. My son's transfer to the New York headquarters led to all 3 of them moving into my home. Watching my adorable grandchildren grow every day, I feel incredibly happy.
How did you find this story? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Until next time in the next video.